Hi everyone, so today I'll be doing a review on a candle from a small business called the Gift Gala Shop based out of Texas. This is their large apothecary style jars. They are listed as 22 ounces, however, I don't believe that is the net weight of the wax itself. I think it's closer to 17 or 18, so in case you are factoring that into your purchasing decision, just keep that in mind. So these candles are poured in small batches with 100% soy wax. It does list the burn time as 100 plus hours, but again, I don't know if that is tied to the 22 ounce size, so it might be slightly less. But anyways, these retail $32. This particular scent is new for their spring collection that came out in 2026. Pear Blossom and Cream has notes of pear blossom, apple, honeysuckle, and silky cream. Because I skipped over the packaging, I do like that this style is very distinct, and that's mainly because of the cork style lids. I do have to say that I don't know how well the cork lid will hold on to the fragrance oils or kind of like not let the fragrance oils escape because it's not a tight seal. It doesn't like snap into place. There's not like a wrapper, a rubber gasket around it. It just kind of gingerly sits on top of the candle. I do like that you are able to see the wax and the flame because there is no wraparound label, but I think that's also a con because right now I'm having serious performance issues and I am able to see it all front row seat. But the font, I really like the font that they use for the name of the fragrance. However, the fragrance notes, which I do like that they put, they're very tiny. If I had to guess what type of font size they're using, it'd maybe be like 8 or 9 point font, and it's in cursive. And also the color, if I didn't already say this, it's like a light brown color, so that makes it even harder to see. There's not a lot of contrast. But going back to the fragrance, there is a scent story listed online. It reads, Pear Blossom and Cream opens up like the first blossoms of the season. Pale petals catching morning light, fresh pear and crisp apple mingle with honeysuckle and soft cream, creating a scent that feels airy, romantic, and quietly indulgent. Delicate yet comforting, it lingers like silk on skin and sunlight on lace curtains. So immediately this reminded me of Bath & Body Works' candle that came out in 2025 called Spring Apple. The notes to Spring Apple are apple trees, vanilla, and sweet pear. They are slightly different though. Let me talk about Pear Blossom and Cream. So this also reminded me of Laffy Taffy. However, if it was less processed and less sweet. I got a tinge of freshness from the apple and the pear. However, I feel like the normal crispness that you would get from an apple and a pear was toned down by that cream note, which becomes more apparent, at least to my nose, when I go to burn it. I don't pick up much on the honeysuckle, which I was expecting there to be like more of a floral dominant note in here, but to me it's like barely detectable. But I like it that it's not just 100% like a pear and apple scent. However, I think definitely this apple note comes across to my nose as a green apple. It's almost kind of borderline like a mouth puckering tart green apple, which I think it's plain, maybe not so well when you go to burn it in case you're sensitive to lactonic notes that can turn a bit sour. And I think it's just because it's so tart that it's borderline sour. Like think some sour Skittles. Like it's not sour because the milk notes have gone off or anything. It doesn't smell like yogurt, but it's so tart that I feel like that's how it's coming across, especially with that added cream note that, in my opinion, becomes more apparent when you go to burn it. But okay, I think you might be seeing some, or how it currently looks like. I'm almost halfway done with this candle, and let me tell you, I have struggled with the performance. I think this is a candle that's giving me the most issues in 2026. But my first burn, I do have to say that I noticed that my wicks were pretty small. I feel like they were pre-trimmed, and I don't think that was a good thing because it was a little bit on the lower side. Also, I have to make a note that my wicks are closer spaced than another candle from this brand, which is burning a bit better. Strength on cold, I would give this a 6 out of 10. It was a little bit on the lighter side. My first burn, I did not trim my wicks because I noticed that they looked pre-trimmed. So I opted to burn this in my medium-sized bedroom where I burn all my candles. And this candle took about 2.5 hours to fully pull out. So how it smells while burning, I feel like I like it a little bit better when I'm closer to the candle. I think I get more pear. And then the further I am away from the flame, it becomes less crisp and kind of slightly more like fuzzy smelling to me. If you think how some fruit has like a little fuzz on on the skin, but I could still smell it, but it was a bit weak. In my medium-sized bedroom, it was about, I would say, a 5 out of 10, and the projection wasn't much better. It was maybe like a 6 out of 10. But okay, the real issue is that this candle has had puny flames from the get-go, and I've tried everything to fix it. I'll maybe include some clips of what I've done, but I've put this in 2 different types of hurricanes, like 2 different sizes. I've tried soaking up wax on 2 occasions, and then afterwards, when my wicks were longer, because I've soaked up wax, I didn't trim my wicks, but they just immediately turned puny. And I've tried putting this under my candle lamp because I thought, okay, maybe there's like how a lot of people say that once you burn a candle and it starts tunneling, the wax has that memory. I put it underneath my candle lamp. Oh, and the projection and strength were maybe about a 5 out of 10. So that same intensity that I got in my first burn, that's pretty much how strong it is under my lamp, which again, it's on the weaker side. But yeah, I've soaked up enough wax and I weighed it, also including the cotton rounds, enough to fill up a clamshell. So that's how much wax I weighed it. It was, well, it wasn't 2.5. That's what a normal clamshell is. It weighed like 2.1, which is still a lot. And this is how it currently looks like. Let me go ahead and show you an overhead view. All right, so here is an overhead view of my candle. Currently, I've had this burning for over 3 hours and my wicks are so puny. I do have fallout as well. I think that's because I am not trimming my wicks, because if I do, these things will just dud out. I decided not to put it in a hurricane just so you can see how it performs without one. But if you notice right here across the edges, the wax, the full wax pool is maybe on some parts, but not all the way across. So I wouldn't consider this a fully pulled out candle. And I can see a lot of the blue part of the flame. Yeah, these are very puny flames. And I feel like it is slightly altering the scent. Well, actually, I don't know if the scent would be better or worse if these flames were stronger. But how I was mentioning that it smells different on cold and while burning, I think I pick up more on that cream lactonic note. So right now, the smell that I'm getting is leaning slightly charred. I don't think there's enough flame action to go scorched, but I feel like I'm picking up more on that cream nuance that I didn't get while it was unburnt. So right now I still pick up pear, I still pick up apple. It leans less kind of sweet, crisp, candy-like, and it's starting to become more of like of a poached pear, or like these fruits are kind of cooking. And I think that's just because my flame is very low. It still smells nice, but when I compare it to the Bath and Body Works candle, I get better performance from that one, even though I still like the scent of Pear Blossom and Cream. Let me insert the clips in case I haven't already, but you'll see how my wicks looked, how my wax looked. And I think in some clips, you'll also see my hurricane. So the flames don't get any better if I put it in a hurricane. I've even tried putting in a Lumalid. If I soak up the wax, even like 2 to 3 cotton balls, the flames will go back up to a medium, but then they won't hold that intensity. They'll go straight back down to being low flames. All right, so here's another update. It's not going well for this candle. I've had this burning almost 5 hours, and can you believe this 2 wick still hasn't fully pulled out? The reason why it looks kind of weird is because I do have it in my smaller, taller hurricane, and I thought that would have helped, but no. Here, let me take off this hurricane. So yeah, I thought that with putting this underneath my candle lamp, soaking up some wax, it just would come to life. Afterwards, I didn't even trim my wicks. They just slowly got smaller and smaller until they reached this height. All right, so here's a quick view of my candle, much like the other update. You see there is a little bit of melted wax, but that doesn't extend all the way. It's almost as if the flames are there, but it just doesn't generate enough heat. So I know I said in my previous update that I was not going to soak up any more wax because I feel like I'm kind of wasting my money that way. It was a bit hard to pour it into a wax liner cup, so I decided against that, plus it'd get a little bit messy. But this time I will soak up 3 cotton balls full of wax. I still have the 2 that I soaked up right here. So yeah, I think, well, I don't know, maybe I should weigh how much wax is in here, but here is how it looks like. All right, so here's an overhead view of my candle. If you can see here, my flames aren't so puny where it's just that blue part of the flame, but it's not generating enough heat even in a hurricane. I've even tried putting an Illuma lid on this, which isn't recommended because that's only for Yankee single wick candles. But right here, you can see the unmelted wax on some parts. Like right here, it's okay, but not all the way around, like especially right here. So yes, I'm going to try yet again to soak up some wax, 3 cotton balls this time instead of the 2. Not trim the wicks at all, which I've already been doing that. Oh, and in case I didn't show you already a 360 view, here is the liquefied wax pool, but there are some kind of unmelted parts of the wax. And the only reason why this part is clear is because I put it underneath my candle lamp. Otherwise, I think it would just basically look like a bunch of this right here. So see right here, it's like liquefied, but then this part is not. Overall, I wouldn't recommend or repurchase this candle, Pear Blossom and Cream. It is a good scent, but I feel like you are better off just getting the Bath & Body Works candle, Spring Apple. Even though I feel like the apple note in the Bath & Body Works candle leans a little bit like red apple past its prime. This one from the Gift Gala Shop does have more of a cream nuance, but then again, the pear and the apple are mixing together where I feel like it kind of is starting to read a little bit like sour candy with a little bit of like cream added to it. Not like cold milk or anything. So yeah, that has been my experience. Sadly, not so good, or actually not great at all. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and I hope you have a great day. Okay, bye.